Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Good Night, Everybody. I am your host, as always, Christopher Lawrence. This week we are without Stephen. We'll try to get by. Stephen is somewhere. He has to take his cows to auction. I don't know. But we have some excellent guests tonight who I'll be bringing on momentarily. We have the great Trevor Alcorn of Tridentine Brewing and the great Chris Lewis of Baritus Catholic Illustration. And we will be joined by, I'm so happy, our new in-house, our band leader, as you will, our in-house musician, Tony Manfredoni, the very talented Tony Manfredoni, will be playing a song for us a little later on in the show. But without further ado, let me bring on somehow Trevor and Chris Lewis. I can remember how to see. Stephen usually presses the buttons, and now I'm not doing it. So we're already having foibles.
We can be disembodied voices. Oh, there we go.
Look at this. There we go. This is fine. Okay. Trevor, Chris, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Great. Nice to be back. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen recent episodes. Stephen is the co-host. No, I just elevated. I just promoted him. No, Stephen is not the co-host. God forbid. Stephen is my sidekick. And when I brought him aboard and gave him the job, I told him, just, your job is yes, sir, no, sir, laugh at the jokes, be like a quieter Ed McMahon. But what happened is I get stories of like his cows and goats molesting him. There's a tale of some itinerant Italian man coming to his door begging for chickens, which I found offensive. There's something wrong with him. But he's on board now, so there's not much I can do. But you gentlemen are spared that tonight because he's, I don't know, I don't know where he went. I don't know what he does. But thank you for coming on the show. And I'm going to try to figure out the technical aspects that I used to do, but I have pawned off on Stephen so that he can be useful in some way. Big things have happened, gentlemen, since we last spoke. Trevor, the commercial launch has gone, it would appear, very well for Tridentine Brewing. How has the experience been so far? Did it go about how you expected? Did it go better than expected? What are your thoughts about everything that's taken place since?
Yeah, I mean, in a certain way, I'd say I think that it's went as expected and better. And I say at least as expected at the very least, because I don't think that we would have went into this venture if we didn't think it was going to be successful based on just reception that we had with family, friends, and other people's social media reception of the beer. So yeah, it's been going really good, Chris. Certainly the expansion is continuing. So we will be in Illinois very, very soon. Like, nice. We're one step away from getting the Illinois license and continuing to expand in Wisconsin. So right on the brink of getting into a nice large retail grocery store chain in Wisconsin. So that'll be announced really soon, but that's all over the state, and maybe getting very close to bringing someone on board full time to do some sales for us in Wisconsin, so we can start freeing up our resource. My father, who's been doing all the sales and distribution in Wisconsin, so that he has some additional availability for Illinois and for other states, because there's other states even beyond those two that we're hopeful that in 2025 we will be in several other states, at least have outposts in some of these other states.
Wow, Wisconsin. So this chain of stores in Wisconsin will take on a second item now. They'll be carrying cheese and Tridentine beer. And beer and cheese goes great together, so that's wonderful. And I think some of the success is due in part to our other guest, Chris Lewis, who has designed the cans for the beer. Chris, what kind of reception have you been getting? I see on Trevor's social media all day long, just people praising the taste of the beer, which I can also attest to is phenomenal. I mean, it's the best. It's the best stuff. It really is. And also praising it in equal measure the artwork on the can, which is all you. So what have you been getting? Now you've been busy. I mean, I had no idea. And congratulations on your new child. Wonderful. I'm surprised you're here because I remember when we had the baby. I mean, sleep is just, and you're already busy. So the fact that you don't even look tired. I don't know how you're doing it. So how has the feedback been for you? How is life? Have you even taken it in at all? Have you had time? Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Muted.
There you go.
There we go. Okay. Thank you, by the way, for the congratulations.
Of course.
Yeah. He was number 6, so he's kind of chilled out at the tail end of all of our kids, and so far
it's old hat now. It's like
he's
kid.
he's one of the easier ones, I think. So he's given me a little bit of a break. Of course, my wife is doing a lot of that, so she's taken all the late nights pretty much at this point. So anyway, thank you for that. Tridentine, the beers were awesome. Like you, I kind of see it when Trevor's advertising on X primarily. That's or Instagram. That's kind of where I get the biggest hits. Or I have people messaging me all the time like, "This looks like your artwork. Did you design this?" Now I'll give you. This is probably the biggest compliment I've had as far as the artwork and just working on the Tridentine project goes. My non-Catholic dad, he loves beer, but he's not like a huge beer drinker. Came over one day and he was just amazed that I had worked on this project, and he like takes his phone out and like was taking pictures of all the cans. I'm like, that's like the highest regard possible, because he's not Catholic, but he loved the art. Not, he's into beer and beer culture and stuff, so he thought it was just a really cool project that I got to work on. And I agree. I'm a little bit jealous. Trevor's drinking one tonight. I did get some samples, but unfortunately I didn't drink all these tonight, but I did drink these. So
sure. Look,
that's a hint. You need to restock.
You don't have to lie. I said I've had a baby. I haven't had a baby. You know what I mean? My wife had a baby.
You're so modern, Chris. You're so modern.
I know what happens. You drink it's fine. No one will judge you. It's okay. Plus, they're free, right? And you had a hand in it, so you need to take the edge off a little bit.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna.
I should have. My point was I should have saved one to enjoy with you guys tonight, but
well, it's okay. Look, we have a comment already. This is our earliest ever comment in an episode of this show.
Nice.
Way to get in there.
We almost named our son Blaze, so that's
a good name.
Yeah,
that is a good name. That's a good strong name. So Blaze McIntyre said, if that is your name.
Yeah.
Blaze McIntyre says, it is the best beer with the best labels. 100, son.
Thank you, Blaze.
I agree. Yeah. Thank you, Blaze.
It's fun to work on.
Now, has this resulted in anything unexpected? I'll have Trevor answer first, and then Chris. Has anything come about so far that you were not expecting after the commercial launch? I know you said the success is maybe a little wilder than you expect. So, although I told you this, I think right before, this stuff's gonna go like gangbusters. This is gonna blow up. So I'll take credit for that. But has anything been unexpected, Trevor, in the launch and what has followed? Has there been anything you did not anticipate?
Yeah, not anything that I wouldn't anticipate. I'm still always taken aback a bit by just all the hoops, the government hoops, like in every single state being seemingly way different from one another. It seems like it's like the last bastion of federalism is alcohol laws. Which federalism would be great, but it's funny that this is like the only thing that seems applied to anymore. So that part's been frustrating as we look to do other things, get into other states especially. But really everything else has been well received. I think to your point, Christopher, the fact that, at least from my standpoint, I always thought this is going to go great. And this isn't a pride thing or anything. It's just we had a really great confidence in the brand and the artwork that Chris delivered, of course. So I always thought, okay, this is going to go well. It's just getting out there, just having the time to get out there and having our one resource get in the field and bring it to people and make the sales. So yeah, I would say maybe the only other thing is just it's been just a learning curve, I think. I mean, the whole process, this whole thing has been a learning curve. But yeah, especially for my father, Jeff, who's in the field, who's going out, who's making the sales. It's been a little bit of a not a curveball or anything, but yeah, as I mentioned, just a whole learning episode for each different type of establishment, even getting into like larger establishments, what's required. yeah, it's all new, but you know what? Once we learn it here in Wisconsin, it kind of preps us for the next state and the next state after that. And so hopefully ramping up and getting up to speed in other areas is going to be much smaller time frame in comparison, because we're learning the ropes right now as we speak.
Sure. And Chris, what about you? Have you experienced anything unexpected in relation to Tridentine since the launch? And
Not really. I like, to Trevor's point, I kind of had high hopes, or I had a good expectation for this, just because I feel like it was something a little bit different. I had the beers, at least when they were, doing it as a hobby. I had some of these brews, and I was really impressed by the quality of it. There's not, I mean, I know there's Catholic breweries out there, but they're not like, they're doing a little bit of a different way. I think the Tridentine is doing something really unique, especially with the storytelling of the beers they came out with, especially just the first few that they came out with. They're really strong concepts. And I could really see that. I think the only hindrance, to Trevor's point, is probably that it's just so hard to get into all the different states. If they could, I'm sure they would be doing, exponentially better than they already are doing. Great. Yeah. So I'm not, what's that?
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. I mean, I guess one of the unexpected things, just from the art standpoint, is that I had a lot of people see the cans who had their own products, on their own brands, not beer, but other things, and then they reached out to me. It was like, "Oh, we saw how cool these look. Can you help us out in our brand?" So,
Trevor,
I did not expect that so much.
He's about to leverage some offers against you.
Oh no, I think it's great. I mean, I think about that all the time when I go to the store and then I see different products and whatnot. I'm like, wow, this would be like really great with like some Baritus art. No matter what, like the different food things or other things in the store, I'm like, wow, this would be really great. So I would say, hey, if we could see more of this with other types of products, more Baritus illustrations out there, that's fantastic.
He's had old Slugworth approach him there, and he's trying to get your everlasting gobstopper recipe. It's happening.
Hey, if I can keep feeding my kids doing it, then I'm happy. And I kind of have like just a personal thing where it's like, if I've taken on, for example, Tridentine Brewing as a partner and working on this, I'm not going to take another beer brand, right? So it's going to be, I'll do other stuff, but like, I like to be dedicated to, I feel like I'm all in on the beer stuff with Tridentine. So,
yeah, well, that's called integrity, Chris, which we know you have, but many people unfortunately do not these days. And I'm sure that the faith and having the background in the faith really helps that, right? I mean, you can, although there's Catholics out there that are not so into being loyal, and well, we don't need to talk about that. Anyway, like Steven, who has abandoned me on this episode of the show.
I know. Look at that. He's two episodes in, and he already bailed.
I don't know how many we did. It feels like a million, Chris. I mean, honestly, it's like we do an hour, and I feel like I've been up for a week. By the time, I can't. It's unbelievable what he gets away with on this show. It's real. I mean, really, you wouldn't believe what he says. You need to watch some of these old episodes. He's unhinged. No, but he's a good guy. So anyway, I'm so happy for the success of this. It's been really, really great to watch. And I don't know how many years ago it was that me and you guys first started talking. I was doing another show. Not as fun. I had a boss, and sometimes when you have a boss, they expect things. Can you imagine? And but now, a little bit different, but I remember when both of you guys first found what you were doing, and I said, these guys are just so good at what they're doing. It's only a matter of time before things really, really, really take off. And now you both, look at you. You're both doing so well. And here I am. Nobody watches the show. That's okay. But what has made you the happiest about this? Trevor, I'll start with you again so far. I mean, is it just knowing that something that you and your father have put so much blood, sweat, tears, passion into to that you believed in, to see that this was not in vain, that your belief was warranted, or is there something else? Is there something unexpected about it that has made you happier than all the normal stuff?
Ooh, great question, Christopher. I would say the happiest part of this. Yeah, I mean, I would say certainly one aspect to your point would be that it was a success. You know, I mean, there's certainly some personal satisfaction in knowing that, hey, this idea I wasn't crazy. It can be a success. I mean, it is working right now. We have a long ways to go still, but so that knowing that's the case is certainly personally satisfying. I would say as well, just the opportunity to, again, continue to get these different stories that we're telling, and the stories that Chris tells so well through his artwork, out to the masses and out to people. Let me give you a story. We were doing samples right before Christmas Eve, December 23rd. We're up in Wisconsin. We're at a store doing samples, and this lady picks up some beer with her son after she had a sample, and then it must have been like 15 minutes later, 30 minutes later, she came back to the table and she's like, "Hey, I realized you guys are Catholic. I'm buying more beer. I'm buying more beer for my priest." And so like she realized it was Catholic, and that was kind of like a cool moment after she like read through kind of the stories, certainly the Cristeros beer and Dies Irae, and that she recognized it. Well, we've had other people as well, certainly when we've went out to pitch the beer, the restaurant owners, others, but also just people that we meet that try the beer and hear the story and are really, kind of taken back by it. It really makes them think about it, or maybe they even know the story and it really, kind of adds a pep in their step to their day, and they're really excited about the product. And so that's the part I think that's made me the happiest, is just getting those stories out there, getting the reactions for people, for those who haven't heard the story before, introducing it to them. And then for those that know the story, I think it's kind of like this invigorating feeling like, oh, right, there's other Catholics out there in the public sphere, getting a message about the faith out there. People really enjoy that. So that's probably the part that's made me the happiest.
Now, for non-Catholics that accidentally drink this, what is the reaction? Is it hives? Is it immediate conversion? What happens when you slip this to somebody that isn't Catholic already?
Yeah, you know what? I think that the reaction is, I haven't had any like on the spot conversions, like people drink it and all of a sudden they turn Catholic and run over to the church to get baptized. I haven't had that, but I think it's.
Feel free to use that idea. Creative license.
The church has, by the way, been asked. It's been a question: can you baptize with beer? And the answer is no.
I thought it was yes.
It needs to be water, but there was an actual question.
Well, there's water in beer, right?
There is water in beer, but it needs to just be water.
Pepsi,
so, unfortunately, we can't baptize people on the spot with the beer if they have an instant conversion after we tell them about the story. But I think it's been pretty positive. Like even people that I meet, again, family, friends, neighbors, whoever, and a lot of them haven't heard the story about the Cristeros. So like you tell them the story about the Cristeros, at first I think, hey, it's a story about a cool cowboy, and so they're taken in by the can. To an extent, right? But then when you tell the story, like, oh wow, that is really fascinating. It is really interesting. So I think it plants that seed of just, okay, maybe they'll look into it. Maybe they'll look further into it. So it brings kind of that story to life, something they'd never heard of before. And again, it's just like putting these little seeds in people's minds. And I would never claim like, oh yeah, people drank the beer and they converted. I think it's just more of one of those things about, getting something out there in the public sphere that people can consume, in these small quantities, and just make them think a little bit. I mean, especially like something like Dies Irae, where the story is pretty deep and rich, about life and death. And I think it really maybe in the background gets people, their minds churning a little bit about the story that's on the back.
Sure, that imagery certainly strikes you right off the bat. Now, Chris, I just want to confirm those empty cans behind you. Now, you did drink all those. You did not baptize your new child. Because we just learned there. Apparently, you can't do that. So
I learned too late, I guess.
Oh no. No. Well, it's all right. Conditional baptism, I think they call it.
Yeah. And if I can, I'll just add to what Trevor said.
Yes,
just
please.
For myself, I mean, one of the things is I just really like Jeff and Trevor. They're like just really good guys. And one of the types of clients I like to work with are the ones that are really passionate about whatever they're trying to do. And it's not a money-making scheme. It's not like trying to get successful fast. Like Tridentine, they had been doing this out of a love of doing it. And you could tell by the content and the themes behind the beers that they were really into it being something that was, tied to their family, tied to their faith and things like that. So when I met them, for me, that was, this was just the perfect type of client I wanted to work with. Great guys, great. They loved what they did. It was a quality product. And not only that, but it was very deep. And they, like Trevor said, they're thinking and all of the content behind the beers is very deep and rich, and there's layers to it. And that just makes working on these types of things like really fun. So, I had a blast working on those 3 cans, and I'm sure there's a lot more fun down the road as they expand too. So that's the other, like it's a brand that has some like future to it. And yeah, and so that's always kind of cool to work with people like that.
Well, it's family.
Yeah,
and it was family first. I mean, I don't want to speak for Trevor, but just through talking to him over the years, like this is what always comes across as first and foremost is a family thing, and I think probably Trevor would almost consider you like a member of that family at this point. Again, I don't want to speak for Trevor, but just talking, knowing you guys a little bit.
Adopted.
And so that makes all. If it was a get rich quick kind of thing, Trevor would have come out with Andrew Tate's wife beater Pilsner, and that would have like gone to the moon. But it wouldn't have been right, That's not right.
No.
This is a family business, and he wants to also give people a little bit of what's very important to him, the Catholic faith, obviously at the center of this whole thing. And I think it's a wonderful, and I've said this before too, and what a wonderful way to get those ideas across to people that may not normally think about Catholicism. Like, we're not in a good way anyway, like, Catholicism. But somebody wants a beer, and they see that it's a darn good beer first and foremost, and then what is this? Let me learn about this. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. And then they maybe go down a rabbit hole. And if you convert one person, it's tremendous for you. When Jesus comes, he's gonna like that. But it's good to have a brand run by people with integrity, because then that integrity comes through, and people resonate with that. I've seen the response. People appreciate what you're doing. They appreciate that you're real, both of you guys, and that it's not just a cash grabbing thing. But speaking of that, I have to talk about our affiliate sponsor, which is Poggers. We have 2 sponsors. This one's Pogger, their affiliate links. At poggers.shop, Poggers energy drink mixes. Well, my goodness. Fuel your drive and focus with Poggers Energy, a powerful blend designed to give you sustained energy without the crash. Oh. Packed with a balanced mix of caffeine, B vitamins, and natural flavors. That's natural flavors. Poggers Energy is crafted to help you stay sharp and energized for gaming sessions, workouts, intense work days. Oh, I got to file this paperwork. I need some Poggers. Every sip powers your performance, supporting mental clarity and endurance, so you can keep going strong and feeling great. Poggers.shop. Use code GOODNIGHT for a discount. Thanks, Pogger. Anyway, guys, so sorry, I had to take care, keep the lights on.
This show has just evolved so much since I've been here.
Well, just
hey, I need to do work later, so I'll have to balance this out. Like an energy drink.
I think Poggers probably mix well with beer. They have a lot of flavors. Poggers has many flavors: energy, hydration, and a new sleep formula blend. Help you get a good night's rest. Maybe not as good as after drinking all them beers like Chris did. They're pretty good.
You don't want to see my beer wall. I keep that in the basement. Speaking of appreciation, someone online put together a nice shadow box with our beer
I saw that today
with the cans and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So,
cool.
You don't need to see my shadow box. It's just, a whole shelf full of our beer, anything I just will stack it up and put it down there. So, yeah.
Well, I'm currently redoing this space here, and that's why these are out. They're going to go somewhere in here, and I will have them officially on display.
It looks, Chris, I mean, you know this. I wouldn't have talked to you so many times, but I love your art. I mean, it's so fantastic. And I love it's such a wonderful way to get these ideas of faith, Catholicism, the saints out to people that it's like last week we had my friend Douglas Ernst on. I don't know if you guys saw it, but we've talked about him before. He does a comic book about an exorcist, but it's an adventure comic. It's not about Father Ripperger sitting in the studio. I mean, God bless. I love Father Ripperger. He's my friend. But it's, this is like a combat veteran exorcist. He goes out. So these young people are reading this because it's a comic book. It's an adventure. It's got great art. And then at the same time, on the back end of that, they're learning about the rosary, learning these Latin prayers that Douglas puts into the comic, because that's what the exorcists use. And they're asking questions. And I've seen, just like with you guys, tremendous positive feedback, renewed interest or new interest in things of faith and in Jesus and Christianity and the saints and in the reality of spiritual combat, right? Which is very real. Well, that's a question. Let me ask you, because I asked Douglas something similar. I'll start with Trevor, and then I want to ask you, Chris. Since you've been doing this work, and since it is primarily about, maybe not primarily, but an integral part of it is evangelization, right? I mean, I think you'd both agree. Have you experienced attacks? We know the reality of spiritual, diabolical attacks, and people are doing good work for the Lord. That the devil, he don't like that. So people do get spiritually attacked at times. Have either of you, and Trevor, I'll start with you, have you experienced any such things since starting this work?
No. But
great answer. Now we'll.
I half expected to. I mean, who knows? Things could come along at any time. But I'm glad. I guess. I mean, maybe I'd feel better if I was, in a certain weird sense. Like maybe it's more efficacious what I'm doing. But thank goodness I have not.
Okay. Well, Chris, what about if I can get you on the screen?
Yeah.
What about you? Have you experienced? And this can. And this is more for the people at home. It takes a lot of forms, right? It could be like a depressed feeling. It doesn't have to be people, because I think people think. Well, let me put me back on the screen so I'm talking. People think, that aren't familiar, that all demonic attacks look like a horror movie, right? It's like the guy who comes out of the wall, and it can, it can. In fact, we have, we've had Boss Rutan, the great legendary Boss Rutan, UFC Hall of Famer, on the show, and he had physical confrontations with the demonic in his life. But that's very rare. And Father Ripper will be the first person to tell you that. But it can come in a lot. I mean, it could be financial troubles. It could be your car, runs out of gas. I mean, the most benign kind of sounding things can be spiritual attacks. Have you experienced anything that you would, Chris, attribute to the diabolical in this journey of working, first of all, on your own, just as a Catholic illustrator, and then now pairing up with Trevor at Tridentine?
Yeah, I think I absolutely have. It's funny. It's funny you even bring that up, because my wife just said to me this morning, I was having one of those days today, and my wife said to me, "You're just somebody. You're like a person who's oh man, what did she say? Like, you're just one of these people that's always spiritually attacked," or something like that. And we've talked about it before. We're like, it's because you're doing Catholic art, and you're out there and you're putting it out into the world, and obviously anything like that, the devil's not going to like that. But I think that's the case for me, whether I'm doing art, or the case for people, whether they're just evangelizing through speaking to other people. We're always putting ourselves kind of out there, and for me, it's been more of like death by 1,000 cuts types of things. Like, definitely nothing physical manifestations or anything like that, but more of like mental stuff, and just little a piling up of inconveniences. I deal with a lot of pain and stuff like that, so that kind of rears its head at like the worst possible times. And so it's kind of things like that. I've seen that, and there's been times where it's like, okay, this is like a lot of stuff, coincidences. They're just the way that they fall into line. it's like, all right, it's a little bit suspicious. I can only assume. I don't know. But I just assume anybody who's trying to live the faith is going to be attacked to some degree. And the more you do it, you're a target. The devil's prowling like a raging lion, right?
Yeah. Especially if you're what you're doing is more expansive than just personal piety, right? You're reaching a lot of people, both of you guys.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm not even like personally that pious. Like I have a lot of struggles. This is why Saint Peter is like my favorite saint, because I'm just like for me, I feel like I converted 2 decades ago, and I feel like I'm still like in the midst of trying to grapple with everything. And my wife sometimes jokes. She says that's why you do the art you do, because you're like a depressive, grumpy man. and she's kind of right. I mean, it's like Michelangelo. I'm not like I'm a Michelangelo, but you look at some of these artists, and it's like, yeah, they had their problems, and I'm definitely one of those. I'm one of those people. But what the Catholic faith does for me is it allows me to recognize it, and I'm not always great about it, but like when I see that I'm being attacked, just being like, okay, this is. Sometimes it's like to the point where it's almost ridiculous. It's like, okay, another thing right now, like and you just that's when you have to like fall back on your prayer, go to confession, things like that. That's why I was getting attacked this past week, and I was like, I have to go to confession this week. So I went and the whole thing of going to confession was like a series of things trying to just derail me from going to confession.
And it happens to me all the time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like as soon as you make that determination, it's just like you can sometimes see it, and it's almost ridiculous.
Or you get the my favorite is if you go to you go to one kind of, you guys don't know what I'm saying, you go to one kind of parish rather than the other. Maybe it's only available at this time at the one kind, and you get the priest that's like playing Wordle on his phone or whatever while you confess to like 4 murders, and it doesn't matter. At the end, he's just like act of contrition and say 2 hard.
Well, you've pretty much just, other than it was 3 murders, but other than that, I mean, like that was pretty much my situation.
Yeah, that's almost worse, because then you're like, I mean, that like the sacrament is still valid, blah blah blah, as long as he says the words right, which don't get me started. I've had that happen too. But you feel like you almost feel like, oh, you got away with something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, yeah. So I really needed confession, and it was one of those cases where.
Well, stop murdering people, Chris. I mean, it's not that hard.
I know. Well, it's hard because I drink so much.
He blacks out on the beer. I knew it.
This is not a good example for people, Christopher.
Oh, yeah.
But going back to the subject, like it was one of those things where I felt like I almost had to remind them. But then the positive of this was like I left, and I'm like, you know what? Christ instituted this sacrament. I received absolution. Like that's what matters. And when I went to mass on Sunday, I just had a total peace that all that stuff that was driving me crazy that previous week, like just washed away, right? And all the ways I interacted with it, my whole set's falling apart behind me. Look at this. This is low budget.
It's a diabolical attack.
Yeah. So anyway, so as much as it was frustrating, all that stuff frustrated me. As soon as I was in mass, I felt that peace because I had just been to confession. So I'm gonna blank out here real quick and fix this because that's gonna drive me nuts.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. We'll talk about our other sponsor affiliate link. And hey, speaking of trying to ward off diabolical attacks, you should try some products from Venerable Aubert Herbals. VenerableAubertHerbals.com. Venerable Aubert Herbals is a family-owned small Catholic company creating all natural beauty products, CBD oils from a proprietary blend under strict supervision, salves, and more. Hey, you got a rash? It could be a diabolical rash. Get a Venerable Aubert Herbals salve. It will go right away. Exorcism of diabolical attacks not guaranteed. Venerable Aubert Herbals. That's venerableaubertherbals.com. Use code GOODNIGHT, everybody, for a discount of some sort. Thanks, Venerable Aubert Herbals. Links to all this stuff in the description of the show.
I came back to diabolical rashes.
What's that?
That's what I heard when I came back.
Yeah.
I was just doing the ad. We've got 2 sponsors. Well, they're affiliate links, but I like to say sponsors.
Yeah.
Speaking
Because
of the
runs an air of
diabolical rash.
legitimacy. Wait, what? Go ahead.
Speaking of diabolical rashes, I will say
Oh, here we go.
that there's not for me, but I do know of
Yeah,
other
it's
people.
never for you, Trevor. It's always
Never
somebody
for
else.
me. I relate to what Chris is saying about small things that come up. Never anything big. But I do know I have a friend who helps to organize different like rosary rallies and things like that, and he has seen like extraordinary things. Like he has seen like demon in his room at night, and like felt different like on multiple occasions. And he's personally, I will say, he's very holy. He's following all the things that he has to do to kind of ward that off. But it's one of those things that's like reoccurring because of the reach and how much good he's doing. I think he's come under a lot of attack, that's more physical in nature, and beyond just, I guess, the normal attacks that you might receive.
Wow. Yeah, we hear the stories about St. John Vianney and Padre Pio. We get like actually beat by the devil.
Yeah.
Like late at night. And I can't even imagine. I mean, that's like I don't want to say why I'm not glad to be so holy, but because you want to be holy, right? Like I should want to be so holy.
Well, the thing with that is
there's an upside. It's like not getting beat by demons is the one upside of not being so holy, I guess.
Well, the thing, that's the thing, though, is that those types of manifestations are because they're so holy. Because if just the average person was getting beat up by the devil, there'd be no doubt in the world that, okay, there is a God and there is a devil. And I don't think the devil likes to have that be so clear. I think it's typically, he's trying to hide under the surface.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's absolutely true. So Trevor, what are the plans now to get a can of Tridentine into the hands of JD Vance and good old Trump there?
Yeah, actually, I think it might be possible. I need to look into the shipping for. I think DC you can actually ship beer to. So who knows? Maybe we can do it. So yeah, no, it's definitely shipping is on something we're kind of looking at. Once we get maybe a little bit more help, we can establish that for certain states. Speaking of JD Vance being the former senator from Ohio, Ohio is one of those states that we're looking at for shipping as well. So we'll see. Might be on the radar at some point here.
It's the regulations are so weird, right? Like I'm in Texas, where you can walk down the middle of a public street twirling a rifle like John Wayne's Stagecoach and be totally fine. But you can't do like odd things. Like you can't bet on sports. Like I wanted to bet for the first time ever. I'm not a bettor, but I'm not a gambler. Is better or what? It's better to not be a gambler. But I wanted to bet on a UFC fight. I'm a huge UFC fan. And there was like an extraordinary circumstance. One guy dropped out of the fight and another guy who's also a dangerous guy got put in. And I was like, well, this is the chance to like make money because the odds are crazy. So if I put like $25, I would have won like $500, something like that. So I'm like, I'd be stupid not to do it, right? So it turned out it was stupid. But the point is, like, you can't do it here. You got to go to like some website in Abu Dhabi, and there's all this like workarounds to do. It's weird. So it's weird with like what regulations hold on in certain places and what's allowed. And like I thought everything was just legal in Texas. I thought it was like the Wild West down here, and it basically is.
Well, the beer ones are, yeah. The beer ones are weird too. Like in down here in the South, there's a lot of the states like on Sundays, like you can't buy beer until after 12. Like why? Like did you go because you have to go to church in the morning, but then you can come home and I don't understand. Like what's the reason for that?
Well, then you can drink. Yeah.
Then you can drink.
Chris, you know
don't
what?
drink before church.
The place I moved out of before we were where we are now was also a small town in Texas. Yeah. And it was a dry county. I thought that was just out of like Clint Eastwood movies. I didn't think that existed anymore.
There are a few of those too. Yeah. And there's things like in Utah, like I think you have to buy beer at a brewery. I think that's right.
Well, that's because of the Mormons.
Well, yeah, that could be. But not everyone there is Mormon, so I mean, that kind of stinks for them.
In Texas, I think a lot of it is like the facade of the teetotaling Baptist notion, like, because I know a lot of, my in-laws are Baptist,
Yeah.
and like they used to pretend like, oh, we don't drink, but now I think they got a neighbor now that's from Mexico, and he brings like the good tequila, he sneaks it across the border, and they're always over there like doing shots. So they're like, we can be good Baptists without, we just can't pass up this real tequila.
If you don't want all your beers gone, don't just invite one Baptist. You got to invite two Baptists. You got to keep them on. Got to keep them honest.
Mhm.
Just one by themselves. You never know. It's gonna be good.
Yeah. They let loose.
Yeah.
Then they can't help themselves. So what are the big plans that can be revealed going forward, Trevor, for Tridentine, whether that be the release of another type of beer, or whether that be expansion to somewhere else, or is there something that you can break the news for us tonight on the plans coming up?
Well, what I can say is we've got 2 beers, new beers that we will have out in 2025. One is going to be available in like the spring, summer, and then we're going to have another one in the fall. So we're excited on that. We've started the process of working with Chris on that and getting the branding for that. So we're really excited about those rolling out in addition to what we already have. And then, retiring some is not retiring, but like some are seasonal, right? So like Dies Irae may not be so good during the summer, at least for sales. So we'll probably see that go into hibernation during the summer, and introduce some of these other beers, and then start picking that up. I think it's going to be one of these things where over the course of the next few years, we're going to just start adding in seasonal beers. And so as we get more established, we have more retail locations, we'll have that ability to, again, swap in, maybe down the road, get a Christmas beer, and then, do something for St. Patrick's Day, and, different things like that. So that's what's on the horizon, but there's going to be 2 that are coming up in 2025. So really excited to share that as we get closer and have an unveil for each of the beers.
Awesome. And the beer is, for anyone that hasn't tried it, it's so phenomenally good. It's really so phenomenally good. And almost equally as good has always been the merchandise that you guys have put out. Are there plans for new merch, some t-shirts maybe, or more of the tin tacker signs, or what about, is there anything that, and maybe Chris could speak to that a little bit, have you been informed of anything that you can publicly reveal about designing new merchandise for Tridentine?
I don't know what Trevor wants me to say and not say.
Okay, I understand.
I think everything's public so far that I've done, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think kind of a lot along the same lines as what we've been doing, Christopher, just with the like the tin tackers. Maybe we'll add in some of the magnets and whatnot. I think probably if we can get more into like the specific branded shirts for maybe some of the different beers, I think that those would really go well. The interesting part for us, and I know Chris does a lot of merch sales, of course, with Baritus, but up front for us, I think we went like too much into merch. And again, that was back when we were doing home brewing, and so that was the only thing we could sell.
That was it.
It was merch, and I think we went like way overboard. So now there's a little bit of like a correction, if you will. Like, okay, not that we're not offering merch, we won't have merch for even like the new beers that are coming out. We will, but it's more limited in scope, especially now that we're really focused in on the beer sales. So I would say expect more or less what we're doing for the current 3 commercial beers for the next 2.
Okay. Because I'm just going to say, that Dies Irae artwork on a black hoodie, come on.
That would look fantastic, wouldn't it?
That's some good drip, as the kids say. I don't like that.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is very difficult. It's very difficult to gauge, and it's quite an investment up front if you want to leverage pricing and get a good price that you can retail and make your money back and a little extra. I think sometimes people don't understand, like, a lot of the cost of what you're buying is actually what you're paying, like, just to get it on a shelf. So you have to have a lot of demand in order to make it make sense.
Interesting. No, I didn't really know that.
Chris hit the nail on the head. That's the main problem is like when you do volume, you can get the discount and then you can make a little bit more of the margin back. But at the same time, like if it's such a small run, it starts to make like less and less sense. You don't want to be sitting on the inventory forever either. And so that's what we found out the hard way the first time. We still have a lot of inventory left for the homebrew stuff, which is,
Really?
we bought at a lower cost, large, inventory for, different brews or whatever. But then you realize, unless you're going and doing a lot of, I know it's different for Chris because Chris's artwork is phenomenal and people are always flocking to it. But even some of our non-Baritus artwork, especially that we've had, our non-Baritus labels, those stay around for a while longer unless we're doing things like going to conferences and whatnot, in which case we do pretty well at conferences. But if we're not doing that, it's just online. It's kind of slow going. Even when you've got sales, things will pick up, but it's slow going. So that's why we kind of like shied away from doing something like the hoodie. Like I'd love to offer all these different varieties of different, t-shirts, hoodies and whatnot. But then it's also in the back of your mind, like, how much do I have to like put out up front to invest in that? And then how long am I have to wait to get the money back for this?
Well, when Tridentine gets just a little bit bigger, you take all that stuff from the old homebrew merchandise, eBay, baby. Big demand.
Well, we already have
collector's items.
Collector's items. Yeah, that's for sure.
That's one good thing. Not one good. There's a lot of good things about like beer merchandise, but that's one really unique thing about beer merchandise is it does tend to become collector's items. So yeah, you sit on it for several decades, up to 50 years, Trevor. And
you know what? I'm not joking. For anything that we've ever done, I set aside a version of it for my kids so that they have it. Because and I told my wife this, I said, I don't want to get to the point where I'm 70 or something like that. And my kids are like, hey, Dad, this is cool. Like I see all those pictures, but like you had all this merch. Like what happened? You never set aside something. So I have like a spot of all this stuff that I put aside. But I'm like, all right, I'm saving it for kids or grandkids or whatever. And then, I'll give it to them when the time is right.
That's really
cool. I got it in storage. I got 2 big plastic chests of Lord of the Rings toys. I'm waiting for next year, the 25th anniversary of Fellowship of the Ring. I'm gonna try to unload all that stuff. I thought it was gonna be like the new Star Wars, like everybody wants these Star Wars figures. I've been sitting on these things decades now. Nobody wants them. What are you gonna do? But anyway, I'm going to bring on, if he's ready, he'll give me the thumbs up. Tony Manfredonia, he's giving me 2 thumbs up. He's double ready. So we're going to bring on Tony to do, I believe, a new song, and then we could all chat a little bit, and then we'll wrap up, guys. If that's okay with you, would you like to hang around and listen to some great music from Tony Manfredonia?
Sure,
that'd be great.
Tony, you're all set. All right, make sure I unmute you. That would help. Okay. I can't unmute. You muted yourself, Tony. You have to unmute yourself. This is usually Steven does all this.
There we go.
There we go.
There it is. All right.
So I'm going to give you the floor.
Sure.
And,
can I compliment him?
Wait, what'd you say?
I want to compliment first, real quick, that he matched his tie to his wall.
I know. Look at that.
So the story is the tie came first, and then we bought this house, and I asked my wife, I said, can I paint my studio the same color as my tie for like branding purposes? And she was like, go for it. So
cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
And I have a few ties over there depending on the occasion. Some are shinier, some are more casual. Next to the rose,
Tony, are you gonna repaint the room every time you change your tie? That's crazy.
The tie. Well, see, I'm gonna be like 75 years old playing music, and
I'm not
it'll be
paying for
like
that.
the same tie. So
buy a lot of those ties extra.
Yeah. You find, they
buy
say,
20
you
of
find
them.
something you love. Buy multiples. Definitely. All right, Tony. The floor is yours, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah. So this song is called Coffee Conversations, but I think in light of today's conversation, I'm gonna call it Tridentine Conversations. So rather than coffee, we'll be drinking beer. But in all seriousness, it's a new song I'm working on for my next album, which is kind of all about finding beauty and simplicity within marriage. So this song is kind of about one of those moments. All right. Part of this life is talking about what's on your mind. Feelings to find, but silence can often suffice. Minutes pass, the memories begin to play. Good or bad, I'm glad it's with you. The sun slowly fades as rain or snow falls on our face. From inside we wait as strangers go on with their day. Even when nothing's said, it's in your eyes, sharing all you're thinking tonight. 'Cause there's nothing better than sharing this life and our conversations. Nothing better than sharing a moment or two. How I love this life with you. Weeks flying by, the time's moving faster than light. But when you're here, every second passes into the night. Every kiss a moment of sweet reprise, slowing down as hours fly. 'Cause there's nothing better than sharing this life in our conversations. Nothing better than sharing a moment or two. Nothing better than sharing this life in a simple fashion. Nothing better than sharing this life with you. Noise surrounds us while silence holds us. There's nowhere else I'd rather be than drinking my coffee with you on a Monday morning. This life's too short to waste it, knowing how little time we have together. 'Cause there's nothing better than sharing this life and our conversations. Nothing better than sharing a moment or two. Oh, nothing better than sharing this life in a simple fashion. Nothing better than sharing this life with you. How I love this life with you. With you. With you. Forever with you. Thank you.
Wow.
Thanks,
Tony
guys.
Manfredonia, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful. What an incredible song, Tony. Thank you so much.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you. I mean, marriage
Tony
is like,
is
that's
legit.
all I want to do is spread the joy of marriage. That's it. That's
Marriage
it.
is pretty awesome. Yeah. I was
It is.
on Twitter, I said last night, this is true. My wife and I had a long argument about the correct way to cut a layered cake.
Oh boy.
Like long. Like I almost went to sleep in the other room.
Oh wow.
But then I also said that if you marry someone where you know you're on the same page about all the fundamental things, that's as serious as an argument's going to get. And that's the good side of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like arguing about cake, who cares? But it's yeah, that's one of the good things about being married is like you can have a stupid argument and you're just like it's over, and then like, you know, if you're marrying the right person, and I'm sure that we've all done that. I would think. I would hope. I don't want to speak for anybody, but
well, you know, it's
Tony,
interesting.
that
You
was
mentioned. Thank you.
yeah, go ahead.
you mentioned like the spiritual warfare stuff, right? So like I think last time I was on the show, I talked about my last album, Anchored, is literally all about like spiritual warfare in marriage and like what that looks like. And it's pretty intense, but I have had those experiences as well. Actually, it was the night before I released that album. No joke. Night before, getting all the videos together, all the promo materials, just getting it going. I'm like, all right, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., this thing is launching. But this is a brand new PC I built, like high velocity, everything. And it was just like crashing. It was like doing the thing where like, okay, we got to check your hard drive. And then letters were turning into like weird symbols, and then it would like blue screen of death. I'm like, man, what is going on? And then Maria was like, my wife, Maria, she was like, you know what's going on. He was like, he doesn't want you to release this thing, So yeah, it happens. Like all those little roadblocks, man. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It takes all forms. It's not necessarily The Exorcist, but that could be your exorcist moment. In that moment, you're trying to get something important done, something beautiful. Devil hates beautiful stuff. And guys, Tony is he's amazing. He does a lot. He does soundtracks for video games. He puts out albums. He did a rock opera. We're so glad to have Tony on board a couple times a month for the show, because he's an incredible talent. Tony, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. This has been great. I've learned so much about beer tonight. I can't wait to go try it. And I'm in Michigan, man. So like you said, Wisconsin. So please bring it to Michigan, please.
I would love that. I'd love to get up there, and we'll see. I think Michigan would be a great market.
Oh, big time, brother. Like especially northern Michigan. It's like every 2 minutes there's another brewery, and then a winery, and then a brewery, and then a wine. It's just everywhere. So yeah, there'd be a market, big time.
Yeah,
can't wait.
If you extend, sorry, go ahead, Trevor.
I was gonna say, and great job, Tony, on the piano too, as well. And I can appreciate that, because I spent like 10 years growing up playing the piano, and I definitely was not anywhere near that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so just here and there, my parents primarily were like, you should play piano, and so I did. But by the time I got to college, I kind of like gave it up. Even though I have a piano in the other room, maybe I should get it tuned up and play again. But yeah, no,
I did that.
Job.
I stopped when I was 4, and I wish I had never stopped. Because I love piano. I can't play. My daughter is almost 4, and she's been playing. She loves to play, so I'm like encouraging. I'm like, yes, let me live vicariously through your talent, child.
She'll be your church's new music director when she turns 18.
No, maybe.
Fun fact: I play the organ too. So maybe one show I can have the camera in the choir loft with the pipe organ. Do a little walk up there. Who knows? Maybe we can.
That would be happen. Tony. I'm open for anything you want to do. You are very talented, my friend. So I'd be happy for you to do it.
Pipe organ's pretty fun. I like it better than the piano. Like
I think Chris was talking
how to play it.
He's muted himself.
Oh yeah.
I saw his lips moving. Chris, were you saying something?
He's still muted.
He's still muted.
Am I good now?
There we go. All right. Go ahead.
Man, I was talking like since he stopped playing.
Oh jeez.
Anyway, great job. I guess I'm not going to rehash everything I said, but yeah, good job. I'm always impressed by that too. I love to just bang on the keys when I was a kid. My parents wanted me to take lessons, and I didn't have the attention span. But seeing you play like that, it makes me want to. Fortunately, my son picked it up, so thanks be to God. Like we haven't even given him lessons. He just goes to church and he hears a song. He'll come home and he'll play it perfectly.
Wow. How old is he?
8.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, he's kind of like his name's Sebastian, so we always kind of joke he's like a Sebastian Bach.
Oh, yeah.
But I was requesting, if you go and do the pipe organ, I'm requesting the Interstellar theme. That was what I said.
Oh my goodness, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. I'll have to get permission from my priest there.
Yeah.
He's pretty cool, but I think he'd be about
that's true. That might not work in the church.
That would be amazing.
No,
can you bring the organ home?
Yeah, right. You might have to put the Blessed Sacrament
you know what happened to me? I bought an organ in an auction, sight unseen, and I bought an accordion, a rocking chair, and an organ, right? And so then I show up to the guy's house, and he's like, here's the rocking chair. I'm like, okay, here's the accordion. Okay, no problem. Put it in the case, bring it out to the car. Here's the organ. it's like half the room. You couldn't tell in the pictures. And I was like, what the heck am I going to do with that? He's like, well, you've got to put it. Did you bring a flatbed? And no, I just have like a little SUV out there. But he's like, I don't think you can take this organ. I'm like, I don't think so either. But he was very nice. He just he gave me the money back. But the rocking chair is great.
It's not every day you can buy an organ. That's
it was so cheap, Chris. Like it was really, really. I was like, I gotta have this organ because this was like a year and a half ago.
Like you need to pump it. Was it an air pump one? We have to like get your feet going.
I don't know. It wasn't as big as like Phantom of the Opera, but it was big enough. I don't know if it had I don't think it had that. I don't know.
Okay, all right, that's fine. I was just curious.
I just saw an organ, and literally, it was I think it was $50, and I was like, $50. I got a bid on this.
Yeah, why not? You have to get it.
That's right. I thought for sure I was going to get outbid. Nobody outbid me. I guess they knew how big it was. And I'm the dummy. I was like, oh yeah, I'll just go and pick up this organ, no problem. But I would love to have had it. What are you going to do? Guys, thank you all so much. What a great episode. Great conversation. I love talking to people with actual talent and integrity and artistic ability and drive and all the things I don't have. So thank you all for coming on. And I hope you all, well, Tony, you will be on again, obviously.
I'll be back.
But I hope Trevor, Chris, I hope you all come back in the not too distant future. In the next explosion in success that Tridentine has, which I'm anticipating any day now. I'm so, Trevor, in all sincerity, and Chris, I'm so happy for the success of this. I'm completely unsurprised, but very happy about how well it's doing because it's phenomenal stuff. You're a phenomenal gentleman, and I'm just really happy about it. And thanks for sharing and letting me share in this journey a little bit along the way over these last handful of years that we've been talking.
Absolutely, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us on.
Of course, anytime. Oh, I gotta do one more thing. Okay. Stephen Garone, my co-host, he has I'm gonna do this sincere. I'm gonna do it sincere. Hey, Stephen Garone, my co-host, who's not here today, unfortunately. It's very unfortunate. He has a comedy festival. It's the Catholic Comedy Festival. And tickets are, I think, still for sale, but it is coming up soon in February. The links for all the information to this will be in the description of this episode and at the show page on YouTube in general. He will have the great Paul Rugg, lead writer on shows such as Animaniacs and Freakazoid, and repeated guest on this show. In fact, Paul will be coming back in a couple of weeks, I think right after the festival is over. He will have comedian Jeremy something. He's a Catholic stand-up comedian. Maybe you guys know. Do you know his name?
I forgot Jeremy's last name, but I know who you're talking about.
Okay, he's going to be there.
It's Jeremy.
He's great.
It's Jeremy is what his name is. It's Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy, the stand-up. I think people from the Catholic Man Show will also be there, and others as well. There will be games. There will be food. It is Catholic Comedy Festival. It's CatholicComedy.com/festival, and you can find all the information there, or just click on the link that will be in the description of the show. And hope Steven's doing well. He's fine. Okay, thank you very much, guys, once again, and good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.